Procedural notes. This meeting will be held electronically as per section 19(1) of the town's procedural bylaw number 6228-19 as amended due to the COVID-19 situation. Council, can I get a motion to approve the agenda with the additional items?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councillor Humphreys, before we do that, yes, you have something?
Yes, my apologies. Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I would love council's consideration. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Durant.
Mr. Clark?
I apologize, Mr. Mayor. I think we need to report out from closed session.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So what do you want me to do? You want me to recess this for a sec since we already started?
I don't think you need to recess it. I think you haven't gotten to the approval of the agenda. I think it's fine. We can just continue on with the closed session.
Okay, so we're reporting out. So we'll start. We're reporting out of closed session, council. Reporting out of closed session. We have 4 items. Mr. Clerk, first item.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Reporting out of closed session, first item, the motion is to receive the report and that confidential direction to staff be confirmed.
Okay, a mover and a seconder. Councillor Humphreys, Councillor Kim, comments, questions? Actually, no questions at this time. Mr. Clerk, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Recorded vote for the first item of council reporting out of closed session. Councillor Thompson, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Gallo?
Yes.
Councillor Kim?
Yes.
Councillor Gilliland?
Yes.
Councillor Gartner?
Yes.
Councillor Humphreys?
Yes.
And Mayor Marks?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Second item.
Second item of council reporting out of closed session is to receive the report and that confidential direction to staff be confirmed.
Mover and seconder. Councillor Humphreys, Councillor Gilliland, comments? Mr. Clerk?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Recorded vote for the second item of council reporting out of closed session. Councillor Gilliland, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Maracus?
Yes.
Councillor Thompson?
Yes.
Councillor Humphreys?
Yes.
Councillor Kim?
Yes.
Councillor Gartner?
Yes.
And Councillor Gallo?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Third item.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Third item is to receive the report and that confidential direction to staff be confirmed.
Mover and seconder. Councillor Kim, Councillor Thompson, comments? Councillor Gallo?
Can we get confirmation? I mean, third item, it's very confusing based on the agenda, what we're actually voting on. Which one is it?
Mr. Clerk?
The third item is report PDS 21-080, potential property acquisition.
4.3.
Yep,
Correct.
4.3. Third item. Mr. Clerk?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Recorded vote for the third item of council reporting out of closed session. Councillor Gallo, how do you vote?
No.
Councillor Kim?
Yes.
Councillor Thompson?
Yes.
Councillor Humphreys?
Yes.
Mayor Maracus?
Yes.
Councillor Gilliland?
Yes.
And Councillor Gardner?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Mr. Clerk, fourth item, 5.1 on the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Reporting out for closed session of the 5.1 on this evening's agenda. The item is just that confidential direction to staff be confirmed.
Mover and seconder. Councillor Thompson, Councillor Gilliland, comments? Councillor Gallo?
Well, I can't say much other than I am thoroughly disappointed in the direction council is giving. It's unfortunate we can't have this discussion publicly, but I want at least the residents to know that I'm not in agreement with the direction council is taking.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Gilliland.
Thank you. And just want to say I agree with Councillor Gallo and his sentiments. However, although we can't talk about this publicly, I'm still in favor of at least a direction that we are choosing to vote on tonight.
Thank you. And so before I call a vote, I'll add, I think we're doing a wonderful thing, and I'm looking forward to when the public finds out what we did. It's a great moment. Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Record vote for item 5.1 on the council agenda this evening. Councillor Humphreys, how do you vote?
Yes.
You, Councillor Kim?
Yes.
Councillor Thompson?
Yes.
Councillor Gallo?
No.
Councillor Gilliland?
Yes.
Mayor Morakis?
Yes.
And Councillor Gardner?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Confirming bylaw. Someone like to move that? Councillor Kim, Councillor Humphreys. Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Mayor, we normally just hand vote this one for reporting out of closed
Oh,
session.
okay. All those in favor? Opposed, that carries. Motion to adjourn. Closed session. Councillor Thompson, Councillor Kim, all those in favor? Opposed, that carries. Back to general committee. We're at the moment of our approval of our agenda, and Councillor Humphreys, you did want to speak.
Yes, to you, Mr. Mayor, and I was hoping that the mayor and council would give me the consideration to include a motion that I was 20 minutes late in its submitting. I would hope that the council would allow me this one consideration if that's possible.
So this is to add a notice of motion that will be dealt with next week.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. So I need a seconder, and then we're waiving procedural bylaw, so I would need 2/3. Councillor Gardner, thank you. Second. Is there any comments or questions at this time? Otherwise, I'll call the vote. Okay. All those, oh, Councillor Gilliland.
Thank you. And I know we've had this question before, but I just kind of wanted to, a reminder of when the actual deadline is. Is it, Mr. Clerk, can you confirm?
Mr. Clerk.
Absolutely. Through you, Mr. Mayor. It is 12 noon on the Wednesday before the last GC meeting of the month.
Councillor.
The Wednesday before the last GC meeting of the month. So, actually, so it's the last week, last Wednesday at noon would have been the deadline, correct?
Mr. Clerk.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that is correct.
Oh, I'm really late. Sorry. So now you'll have to think about that, everyone.
When does, I guess the question
I'm
becomes,
sorry.
when does it go public? I think that's the question. But Councillor, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry, sorry.
No, it's okay. I mean, I just know in the past, and I've had some conversations about and offline about wiggling in a notice of motion, and often we're asked to kind of give a reason why we need to push this through if it's considered an urgent matter. And I just, was hoping maybe for procedural sake, I mean, I think it's something that we should at least allow you, Councillor Humphreys, to kind of speak to as to like,
Sure.
What is the sense of urgency to get this on the agenda for next week versus waiting the extra council cycle? That's kind of what I would want to hear from you and maybe the rest of the council.
Sure. Thank you, through
Councillor?
Mr. Mayor. Through Mr. Mayor. Yes, absolutely. So I had submitted the motion last month, and staff, had some concerns and wanted to go through a few more discussions around it. So I had those discussions, and thankful to the CAO and Director of Parks Management. Through that information, there was some adjustments to the motion that made that was more understanding through what I wanted to get done. And the reason for the little bit of a rush is It's going to be the end of July when we speak about this, and to do what I'm hoping to get done, which is a sort of a food garden type security change, would be to start harvesting seeds in October. And I'm afraid to push it out again and again in case there's a little bit of delay in the summertime, that October will come and go, and I just don't want another year to go by. So I was hoping that if it comes in now, that I have the full 2 months of the summer, and then September, October will be hopefully the implementation of some of the program that will be launched next spring in March.
Councillor Gilliland?
Thanks. And I think I was trying to understand kind of what that meant with the harvesting of the seeds and waiting till October. So I guess through you, Mr. Mayor, to
Councillor, I'm not gonna allow debate on the actual motion itself.
I just want to know if it's really going to be effect if we wait a month or not. It's really
Why-
kind of.
I would say that that's a question that we would have to wait till the motion's in front of us to discuss, whether the seeds would take place in October or what. That's not for, this is about just waiving procedure.
Okay, I understand. I just know in the past we've kind of, I know offline and in front of council, it's been a bit of a debate on, you know, this sense of urgency. And I just want it to be kind of fair across the table when everybody else is presenting a motion to slip in at the last minute. I love the motion that Councillor Humphreys is presenting. It's just, I just don't want to, if we're going to allow procedural, I guess, an exception, it just, you know, at some point we just got to hold on to process. I do.
Yeah.
You know, like I just, it doesn't seem like a big emergency as far as like we have to do it right now. I think there's plenty of time, but I would just wanted to hear a little bit more of that debate of the sense of how quickly we need to push this through.
Councillor Gardner. To proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've also slightly missed a deadline by minutes and haven't been allowed. I think though that this is an important motion, and I think as Councillor Humphreys did try to submit it the month earlier, and as she believes that it's time sensitive, I would like to, I will be voting for this.
Thank you. Anything else? Call the vote. All those in favor, hands up high. Opposed? So clerk, I believe 5 is 2/3.
Agree, Mr. Mayor. Yes, it is.
Thank you. So we'll add that to the agenda. Back to the main motion, back to the approval of the agenda with the added items as amended. Councillor Gardner, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a comment.
Okay, so can I get a mover and a seconder first, and then I'll come to you?
Okay,
Okay. Someone like to move the agenda as amended? Councillor Humphrey, second. Councillor Thompson. Councillor Gardner, go ahead.
thank you, Mr. Mayor. We've been having some very late meetings recently, and I think it's, I don't believe I can do my best work at such a late hour to represent the public's best interest. So I'm going to ask for this evening if we could do the time-sensitive items first. There are 2 that are for receipt of information, if they could be put to the end of the meeting. And there's also 2 I'm not sure about. One is the money for the Economic Development Board, and the other is for the BIA. I'm not sure how time sensitive they are, but there are certainly some time sensitive items that I would like to have a priority. Mr. CEO, I was speaking with you earlier. There were, I was thinking that we could do 8.2, 8.3, 8.5, and 8.8 after we do the other items. Just rearrange on the agenda so that if some of us cannot stay, if we go later than 10:30, certainly last week at 12:25 adjournment, I wasn't at my best. So I would just ask council's permission for that.
Mr. Mayor, I'll second that. I agree.
I don't need a seconder. I'll just,
Oh.
I mean, I'll move some of the items around as long as everyone's fine with that. And, but I don't want us to get into a habit of just rearranging. I mean, ultimately, if a counselor needs to leave, and this, with all due respect, Councillor Gardner, I agree with you. We shouldn't be staying, we don't want to be staying late. We need to be more efficient with our time, and we need to be doing and making the decisions of the town in a timely fashion with all the information provided to us. But if someone needs to leave, they can leave. If we have quorum, we can continue. So, but I will move them around just for this time, but I don't want us to get in a habit of just moving them around because someone needs to leave. If there's one particular item, we need to move it around. Absolutely. But I'm just saying it. I have no problem doing it. I'm just stating it just so everyone has full understanding that we're doing it this time because you're asking, and I have no problem doing it as the chair.
And Mr. Mayor, I don't usually have a problem staying till the end of a meeting.
No, I know.
No, but wait a second. But when we're trying to make a decision after midnight, I don't think that's appropriate. And so I would like to avoid that in the future. And if we do the most important items first, perhaps that could go into future consideration. Thank you.
Absolutely. So I'll ask for a vote on approval agenda. All those in favor? Opposed? That carries. Declarations of pecuniary interest. Seeing none. Community presentations. We have one, Kim Clark, Gazelle and Company, and Aaron Serencia from Magna Neighborhood Network regarding engaged inclusive communities, phase 1 summary. Welcome, Aaron. I'm assuming, is Kim here? Oh, I see her name down there at the bottom. Yes, there's Kim. Kim, you have the floor. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Just very quickly, I wanted to thank all of you once again for your support with the Engaged Inclusive Communities project, and to remind you that this is a collaborative project between Magna's Neighborhood Network and the towns of Aurora, East Gwillimbury, and Newmarket. Council approved the project in late 2019. It was put on hold, unfortunately, in 2020 because the project launched with the mayors in March, as did our pandemic. And we were very happy to regroup and begin the work in earnest this year in 2021. And that's what we're here to talk to you about tonight. Thank you again for those who are able to participate in our April and May sessions to give your feedback and input on the project. And I will turn it over to Kim because I know we are limited for time and have a lot to say. Thanks.
Thank you, Aaron, and thank you so much for the opportunity to come forward and present. As Aaron said, it will be very high level. You've got a very in-depth report in front of you, and this is just an opportunity to give you a sense of it and to talk about kind of where we go from here. So I am just going to share my screen, if you can bear with me for just one moment. Oh. Sorry, the file just got. And so as I'm pulling this up, what I will just say is really what the focus of this report is about inclusive engagement. And so broadly, when we think about inclusion and diversity, we think about all kind of the human resources side of things. And what this is really thinking about things through the perspective and the lens of engagement. So how are we connecting to and speaking to our communities in a variety of different levels? So that is what we're speaking about today. Can everyone see my presentation now?
Yep.
There we go. Sorry, it's always the technology juggle and shuffle. We should be used to it by now. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to start off. This was a quote that came from a community member, and I just think it kind of rings to a little bit of what we're talking about here. We need to think about what we're programming, what we're doing, and how it sends out the message of invitation and who feels included and who doesn't. And so as a reminder, why is it that we're doing this? We have a lot of information at a York region level. We wanted to drill down and have a better sense of this at a kind of a more local perspective, and doing it with the 3 municipalities as we kind of live, work, and play between the 3. You know, really, again, why we're doing it, we want to engage more effectively. We want to get an opportunity to understand how we're engaging so that we can have better information to inform our programming and policy, to encourage kind of growth from an economic perspective, but also create that sense of belonging. So that was the backdrop as to why we're doing it. You know, inclusive engagement, this is coming from a company who does a lot of public engagement. They talking about inclusive engagement, about how it's not just the right thing to do, but it really is about developing those relationships. And the more people you gather information from, the more impactful your program is going to be. The policy is going to be impacted in a positive way. And it also, if more people are engaged, more people will feel ownership for the initiatives that you're taking on. As a reminder, you know, phase 1 is where we are, and this is the review and report. So this is where we were gathering information through some conversations and where we had a high level demographic snapshot. The next phase is what we will be moving into, using this report as a foundation, where we will be taking this work and driving it to action. The piece that I think is going to be really interesting is the municipal workshops, working together with the staff that have been working so closely with us to develop some workshops within each municipality to see how we can bring this work to light. Phase 1 elements, the demographic snapshot, conversations, and then some engagement with communities, committees, were how we gathered the information that formed the themes and the opportunities that were provided. From a demographic snapshot, really this is just one view. We took a look at it from a lot of different lenses and dimensions of diversity, but just to give a sense that when you take a look at demographics, not only does it show you the numbers, but it starts to show you how demographics can influence decision-making and policy, and to tell some stories in the community. So again, this is just another snapshot showing a couple of examples, and there's much more depth in the demographic snapshot in the report. Additionally, what you'll see are themes, and we've got 6 of them: meeting people where they are, shifting away from people coming to us and finding ways to meet where they are, engaging with intention to make sure that you're connecting to people who might otherwise be not engaged or find barriers to engagement, making sure you're communicating the commitment, and that's everything from raising a flag and doing a celebration to adding some notes into speeches. The next is making the informal formal, shifting this away from the side of the desk and really embedded into all that we do, and really thinking about inclusive engagement throughout all of our ways of engaging and working. The next is thinking about access, who's feeling invited, who's feeling included, what might be some barriers. This is to the events we're doing, the committees that we have, the sense of how we're building relationships with our municipal leadership, who feels they have access and who feels that they may be excluded. And the final is really thinking about how do we engage meaningfully. And so it's great to have festivals, it's great to celebrate things, but really how do we do it that we're connecting to communities in a meaningful way? And then identifying opportunities. Who are our leaders? Are there opportunities to work collaboratively with some community-based organizations to develop a pipeline of leaders in a variety of different ways? How do our municipal leaders act as leaders and champions and catalysts for change? Looking at how we partner, why we partner, and who we're partnering with, and how can we do that through an inclusive engagement lens. Building capacity with community. We've got a lot of really great grassroots work happening. How do we support and encourage and develop capacity to make that work successful? How do we make and amplify stories that are stories of success in this space? How do we create more spaces and opportunities for conversations with our leaders and within community, with community-based organizations? And then the final 2 is, one is thinking about measuring success. How is it that we measure success for things that we do? And are we making sure that that measurement isn't itself a barrier to creating belonging? And then thinking, again, continuing the collaborative nature of this project. Are there other opportunities moving forward that we can find ways to work collaboratively and collectively to do some of this important work? Where do we go from here? Again, it's a big report, and we want to make sure that it's not something that goes and sits on a shelf. So how do we bring it to life? And there's a few ways in this next phase that we will do that. The development and delivery of the municipal workshops. We're wanting to engage with institutional partners to present this and find ways that this may make sense and connect to the work they're doing. We'll present to neighborhood networks depth and breadth of partners that they have that are doing incredible work in the community. And then as well, we're trying to get our head around a piece that a lot of people expressed interest in. What is a listing, or how do we capture organizations that are doing work in this space, so that we have a sense of who they are and the types of work they're doing and how we might be able to call on them and partner or share information with. So that is the next phase. We're really excited to come to the end of phase one and have this report to present to you, but really, really excited to dig in a little bit more into phase two, to kind of close things out for this piece, and then hopefully encourage ongoing work in this space. Thank you.
Thank you. Council, can I get a motion to approve receipt of the presentation? Councilor Humphreys, Councilor Gillen, any comments or questions for Kim and Aaron? Councilor Gardner, yep. I can see you struggling to try to hit that button because I might not see your hand, but go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I mean, this is a wonderful presentation and wonderful work, important work. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor Gardner. And I'll add one word, and timely work as well. Yes, Councilor Gillen.
Thank you. I was just going to say the same thing. I think it's great. I love this presentation. I love how you broke down all the phases and all the important components. And I also love the fact that you had an outlook for phase two, the engage and learn. It's so important. And you are taking kind of like a bird's eye view of, you know, Aurora, Newmarket, is it East Goldenberry?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's great. We're all interconnected. And I think it's great that we've kind of got a handle on this a lot sooner than maybe, you know, other municipalities. So I think that we're in the forerunner with this, and it's a great initiative. Keep it up. I can't wait till the next report. Do you have like a timeline of when we should expect you to come back to us with another presentation?
So our hope is, so hard online. Our hope is to work over the course of the summer to build out those workshops and the engagement, and then do the work of the engagement and the workshops in the fall. And so I would say kind of October, we want to do that September, October, and then have a report kind of follow that in October, November would be the goal. I mean, all things permitting and process allowing.
Councilor?
Perfect, in the fall. And do you know if you have any plans of having any council members engage in any of the workshops or anything that you've got going on, or some sort of voluntary involvement of sorts?
We're going to work with the municipal advisory group that we have to then identify. We'll have anywhere from 1 to 3 per municipality, depending on the needs and the desires of the municipality, and we'll figure out who we would like to be. So it's not going to be cookie cutter. We'll kind of tailor this piece of it to the needs of each individual municipality.
Councilor?
That's great. Thanks. Keep it up.
Give Councilor Kim and then Councilor Humphreys.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Excuse me. Thank you, Kim and Aaron, for presenting, and we finally get to see each other, and I get to see a presentation after the back and forth we've had last month. Thank you very much. And in terms of the methodology and the roadmap that you've just laid out, I think it's great. I'm very much looking forward to the next step, which is the action items or the action steps, because that's where the wheels hit the road. And seems like you guys have everything planned out to make this a moving item. It's interesting that you use the term inclusive lens, because we have climate lens, we have environmental lens, we have fiscal lens, so it's only appropriate that we have inclusive net lens to this. And so I don't have any questions to ask you other than, you know what, you guys did a great job, and I'm looking forward to the action items to come in the next phase. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kim. Councillor Humphreys.
I thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to, it's been said, so thank you very, very much. My peers have articulated quite well, and I just can't wait to follow up, and perfect timing, as the mayor said. So thank you very much for your work effort. It's such a worthwhile initiative, and thank you for doing this.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson.
Not to be left out, I want to add to all that, but you've done a tremendous job, and you continue to do a tremendous job, and be very fortunate to have you in our community. So thanks again.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Any other comments or questions? Ladies, thank you very much. I'm just echo the sentiments around the table. Great work. We're looking forward to the continuing work that is going to be coming forward in the future. And as I've always said, and I know you guys all know this, is that being inclusive and the diversity of a community doesn't stop at just one community. It's not just one border, right? It expands beyond our borders, and we have to stop looking at it from perspective of just our community. And that's why this is such a great project that we're working with East Gwillimbury and Newmarket into looking at how we can move forward in this direction. So thank you. Looking forward to it. And I think we're going to be better off communities for it once we're done. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the
Thank
opportunity.
you. Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night, ladies. Council? All those in favor? Opposed? That carries. Next up, we have a delegation for 5.1, Don Given, Malone Given Parsons Limited regarding item 8.1. Application for official plan amendment, zoning bylaw amendment, and draft plan of subdivision TFP Aurora Developments, Inc., 20 and 25 Mavrinac Boulevard. Mr. Gibbons, welcome back. You're back after that long night last week. I didn't think you'd show up again, but go ahead.
Oh, I'm pleased to be back. You do work long hours.
Yes. Pass you the floor. You have 5 minutes, sir.
Thank you very much.
There we go.
Yes, my presentation will be relatively brief. Thank you very much. I would ask you to today consider and support your staff recommendation to approve the official plan, the zoning bylaw, and the subdivision draft plan that is before you. Staff have recommended that. I hope you will support it. Since our last session in October of 2020, we've made several changes. I'd just like to highlight those. Thank you very much. I would ask you to today consider and support. I'm getting an awful echo.
I just muted that one. There was another person down at the bottom that had their mic on. So go ahead, Mr. Gibbons. Sorry about that.
Thank you. The official plan is intended to amend the designations that currently exist, which are business park, in 2 ways. The lands adjacent to the existing community will be amended to be a low, medium density residential designation. And the interior lands will be amended from business park to medium and high density. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. This is the revised plan. You'll recall from the meeting that we had with the residents, there were several concerns. One of them was the width of the single family lots. They were 38-foot lots that we were proposing in the light yellow color. We have revised that to 42-foot lots. And as a result of that, we've lost 3 lots, but we never really did have them, but we have reduced the yield by 3 lots. We have also, my client has successfully acquired the land from the region down at the southwest corner. And in doing so, it allows us to complete that block. And included in that block, it'll be a condominium single-family house shown as block 37. We have on the northeast corner, adjacent to where Kane Crescent turns north, we have increased the distance between the residence house and the edge of the new house. And I will show you in a subsequent slide how that works. And we have also added a walkway off Wellington Street to get into and out of the development. There was a connection through the seniors housing block, which we have terminated to avoid cut-through traffic. Next slide, please. Next slide. This is the house that is at the corner where Kane turns north. We have now got a 5-meter separation between that house as opposed to a 1.2 meter separation. We've done that by dropping the house down, the townhouse down. And you will notice that the backyard of this house, this townhouse, does not intrude and does not go as deep as the neighbor's backyard, which I think goes a long way to satisfy the concerns of that neighborhood about what would be next door to them. You can see in the top right slide corner, the southern face of the house that exists today. The townhouse to the south will have a similar face so that they will be similar in look and they will achieve the separation that the resident has asked for. Next slide, please. So we have, as a result of the changes, 36 42-foot singles, one 38-foot single, which is the house down in the southwest corner. And we have townhouses that are in total 210 townhouses and singles, 240 in total, 47 in total. The seniors building, 86 apartments, 92 with individual living and 25 with care. Next slide, please. Zoning, your staff have addressed that. I won't pause on this, but I would comment that we have exceeded the parking requirements of the zoning bylaw. Next slide, please. The singles will look very similar to a 50-foot lot. These are new houses that are going to capture what is becoming a bit more of a modern look to them. Next slide, please. Along the interior of the lands, the 2-story towns will look like you see in the north, in this sort of the right-hand corner slide. The back-to-back towns are shown in blue on the color, and that's what you see in the bottom left. And those units that are fronting onto Wellington Street will have their garage at the rear so that you only see the face of the house fronting onto Wellington Street. Next slide, please. This is the seniors proposal. You've heard about it before. 6 stories, retirement living, 25 care units, 92 individual living units, and 86 rental units. Next slide, please. We were asked about whether the height of the building would be intrusive. What we have done is a cross section looking south from Kane Crescent. And you can see that the new housing that will be constructed and the change in grade elevation means that nobody will see the apartment building from the north side of Kane. Next slide, please. This is a different look at it. We've done a section here, and you can just see peeking over the roofs, a bit of the roof line in each of these slides, but it's not a very imposing building and it will not become an intrusion into the neighborhood visually. Next slide, please. So, Mr. Mayor, members of council, I would ask that you consider this as a genuine effort on the part of my client to try to fit into the neighborhood. We've responded to the concerns raised by the neighbors. I hope you will take your staff recommendation and tonight to adopt and approve this development. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Given. Council, can I get a motion to receive and refer to item 8.1. Councillor Gardner, Councillor Thompson, any comments or questions for the delegate? Councillor Gardner?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is part of this development is going to be quite intense. We've seen that we've had parking and traffic problems in areas where we have this kind of development, in particular behind the town hall. So to Mr. Given, you were talking about the parking standard. In the towns, are they going to be able to park 2 cars on a driveway?
Mr. Given?
There will be an opportunity to park 2 cars, one in the garage and one in the driveway for some of the towns. There is also visitor parking provided along the street and in some cutouts that you can see at the end of the runs of towns.
What is the ratio of the visitor parking?
If I could go back to this,
Thanks.
I think I answered that. Yes, we are.
Councillor?
I'm sorry, you said you were keeping with our standards with respect to visitor parking? Or
That's-
residential parking?
I'm sorry, I'm hearing the same question twice through this echoing that's going on.
Are you still getting an echo, Mr. Given?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I apologize. The councilor's asking about the parking standard and does it meet our standard, and also from a visitor parking perspective?
It does. There is a slide that I glanced over. I will go take you back about 4
Thank you.
slides.
Okay. There we go.
Here we are.
So thank
Yes, I
you. So
am.
so the 2 per unit is including 1 in the garage,
Yes,
and that for the singles and for the towns?
the singles, starting first with the singles, you'll have 2 in the garage and 2 in the driveway.
Great,
The
thanks.
townhouses will have 200 plus spaces. That's at 1.5 per unit, 1 space in the garage, 1 space in the driveway.
Forgive me, at 1.5, how do we get 1 in the garage and 1 in the driveway? That's 2?
Sorry,
No, I'll wait. Thank you. Mr. Given, with respect to the areas where the townhouses are the streets wide enough for one side of the street to have parking?
Mr. Given?
yes, I'm still getting this echo. I'm hearing myself, but yes, they will be. This has been vetted with your fire department, who have looked at the plan and are satisfied with the width of the roads.
Councillor?
Thank you. And with respect to the lots where you've changed the frontage from 38 to 42, what are the lot sizes across the street?
Mr. Given?
The lots across the street are 50s.
Thank you. That's all I have for now. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Gilliland?
Thank you. And Councillor Gardner had asked some of my questions. I do appreciate you guys coming back and making some modifications based on the feedback from the public. I'm impressed with the sight lines, so at least the building is a little bit lower. I know we discussed this before, the grade was lower, and hopefully that will satisfy some of the community residents on Crane and Halderson about the view of the apartment buildings. I guess the only other outstanding thing, but this will be done at the plan submission stage, is the snow storage for the area. But other than that, it looks good with the parking ratio. Much needed senior building housing, we need that. But if you could just touch on a little bit on the snow storage, that would be great.
Mr. Given, snow storage, did you hear that at all?
I heard it. I heard part of it at the beginning when it was clear. Once Ms. Gardner's duplication was going over, and then I didn't get the end of it because it was repeating.
Okay, so can you hear
Is this
me?
Is this
properly?
problem at my end or is it?
I think it's
coming
at
from-
your end, Mr. Givens, because I'm not hearing an echo. And is anyone else hearing an echo? Just give me a nod, or is everyone else good? Yeah, so I think it's at your end, Mr. Givens. Can you hear me now properly? Or are you getting an echo still?
He's on mute, Mr. Mayor.
No, I know, but I thought he would nod his head. Good. Mr. Givens, so does it matter whether you're on mute or not?
Yeah, I tried it without mute. I was still getting the echo.
Okay, so I'll just try to restate what the counselor, and maybe you can get it from me. She just wants to know about snow storage and what there'll be about snow storage on the site.
Yeah, I can't figure it out. I apologize.
No, that's okay. Counselor, maybe we can save it for when we talk to the report. Maybe Mr. Waters will have an answer for that. Okay. Counselor Kim, did you have anything that you really wanted to get to Mr. Givens? Because it sounds like he can't really hear us properly.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just had one question. Well, first I want to thank them for making the changes that were recommended in public planning. The interior community where the townhouses are, my understanding is that that's a condominium neighborhood. So I'm assuming that every single townhome, whether it be the back-to-backs or the laneways or the regular fronting townhouses, they are all under the condo structure.
Mr. Givens, did you get that?
Mr. Mayor, it's David Stewart here.
David, yeah, David, go ahead. If you did you get that?
I did, yeah.
Okay, if you want to answer that, please, by all means, go ahead.
Absolutely. So, Councillor, through you, Mr. Mayor, Councillor Kim, yes, so the interior of the project will be condominium tenure.
Okay. Councillor, and then Mr. Stewart, sorry, Councillor Kim, before I go back to you, Mr. Stewart, did you answer the snow storage question or?
Yes, absolutely. Through you, Mr. Mayor, and to Councillor Gilliland. We have a site plan that has been submitted. It shows the snow storage areas, and on the plan that you have on the screen, at the end of, on the interior of the units, or sorry, the interior of the, where the blue townhouses are shown, for instance, at the end of the those blocks, there's area there for snow storage. But it is illustrated on the plan that has been submitted for site plan approval. So we have addressed snow storage.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. And I'll go back to Councillor Kim. Councillor Kim, did you have anything else?
No, that's it. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Stewart.
My pleasure.
Any other comments or questions? Seeing none. Mr. Stewart, Mr. Gibbons, thank you very much for coming this evening. I'll call the
Thank you. I'm
vote.
back on.
Oh, you're back on. There you go.
I had been watching and I was still on live stream. So I had two systems going. I apologize for that.
Oh, no, not a problem. Technology, it's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so all those in favor? Opposed? That carries. All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Short one.
Consent agenda. We have nothing on the consent agenda. Advisory committee meeting minutes. We have one item. Does someone have any questions or, oh, Councilor Garner, a question, or did you want to pull it? So you're on mute, Councilor.
Sorry, I just have a comment.
Sure, go ahead.
This is the golf committee.
Yes, it is.
So I'm very pleased to see that the committee has given some money to the organization Shine Through the Rain. It's an organization that supports people with catastrophic illness for expenses that they incur that they wouldn't normally incur, parking at a hospital. I don't know if you've been to a downtown hospital recently, but it's shocking. And other things, other important things that support the family. So I just would like to thank the committee very much for that.
You're welcome. I'll let them know, Councilor. It's amazing what gets done when you take the politics out of it.
No comment, Mr. Mayor.
Would someone like to move advisory committee meeting minutes. Councillor Gardner, Councillor Humphries, any other comments, questions on it? All right, call the vote. All those in favor? Opposed, that carries. All right, items requiring discussion. Councillor, I am going to move them around, but I think we should do 8.1 because the delegates were here.
Agreed.
So we'll do 8.1 first, and
Yeah.
then I'll start to move some stuff around for you. So 8.1. This is going to be a long read. PDS 21-075 applications for official plan amendment, zoning bylaw amendment and draft plan of subdivision, TFP, Aurora Developments, Inc., 20 and 25 Mavrinac Boulevard. Recommendation is blocks 1, 2, and 6, plan 65M-3852, file numbers OPA 2017-01, ZBA 2017-03, and sub 2017-02. 1, that report number PDS 21-075 be received. 2, that the official plan amendment application OPA 2017-01 TFP Aurora Developments, Inc. be approved to A, amend Schedule AA of OPA 30 to redesignate the subject lands to low, medium density residential and medium high density residential, and amend Schedule H of the Town of Aurora official plan to identify a new site-specific policy area in accordance with figures 5 and 6 attached to this report. And B, amend OPA 30 policies to allow for a 6-story supportive housing senior citizens home building as a permitted use and allow for a maximum net residential density to be calculated across all lands designated as medium high density residential with the development. And 3, that zoning bylaw amendment application ZBA 2017-03 TFP Aurora Developments, Inc. be approved to rezone the subject lands to the detached 4th density residential exception R4 XX zone, townhouse dwelling residential exception R8 XX zone, and secondary density apartment residential exception RA2 XX zone. And 4, that should the applicant secure the lands between block 37 and 53 on the draft plan of subdivision from York Region as shown on figure 4, that these lands be rezoned for open space O1 zone to townhouse dwelling residential exception R8 XX zone. And A, that in accordance with section 34-17 of the Planning Act 1990 RSO as amended, that no further notice is required to be given in respect of the proposed zoning bylaw as inclusion of the additional lands within the development is minor and meets the general intent of the proposed official plan and zoning bylaw amendment applications. 5, that the draft plan of subdivision application sub 2017-02 TFP Aurora Developments, Inc. be approved to create 35 lots and 38 blocks, subject to the conditions listed in Schedule A to this report. 6, that the Director of Planning and Development Services be authorized to approve minor redlined revisions to the draft plan prior to registration, if necessary, should additional lands between blocks 37 and 53 be secured from Region of York. And 7, that council grant an allocation of 685 persons from the reserve to service the development of 37 single detached dwelling units, 209 townhouse dwelling units within the draft plan of subdivision. 8, that the implementing official plan amendment be forwarded to the Region of York for approval. 9, that the zoning bylaw amendment ZBA 2017-03 be brought forward to a future council meeting following approval of the implementing official plan amendment by the Region of York. And 10, that in accordance with section 45, 1.4 of the Planning Act 1990 RSO as amended, an exemption to the 2-year moratorium on minor variance applications after adoption of a privately initiated zoning bylaw amendment be granted to permit the submission of a minor variance application, if required for consideration by the Committee of Adjustment. Whew. Would someone like
Good job.
someone like to move the recommendation? Councillor Kim, seconded by Councillor Gilliland. Comments or questions on this item? Any? Councillor Gardner, go ahead.
Were you anticipating my hand going up, Mr. Mayor?
Well, I didn't see anyone else putting their hands up, and I felt that you were about to put it up. So, go ahead, Councillor.
Okay. So could I have clarification about 2B, what 2B of the recommendation means?
2B, Mr. Waters. 2B, to amend Schedule A of OPA 30. Mr. Waters?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just finding to be.
It's to redesignate the subject lands to low, medium density and medium high
Right.
density and amend Schedule H.
It's about the calculation of
Sure.
residential density.
Sure. Through you, Mr. Mayor. So there are two residential density designations being proposed on the subject lands. The one is to deal with the low medium. So this is converting business park or employment lands to a residential designation. So the first reference is to low medium residential, which is permits the single family attached that are on the perimeter of the property. The other designation, medium high residential, applies to the townhousing and also to the retirement residence.
Counselor?
So you do an average of everything? I'm sorry, I
There is
don't follow.
Mr. Waters?
For you, Mr. Mayor, there is a density target that is set out
Okay.
for each of those designations, and the applicant or the proposal rather is under both of those density targets.
Counselor?
Thank you. And then number 6 about the redlining, what would be a minor? What would you consider minor?
Mr. Waters?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it would be an adjustment to the lot, for instance, the lot fabric based on the, so this is intended to recognize that we haven't done the detailed engineering yet. So that's the next phase as we move through the draft plan conditions to satisfy those. And that's where the detailed engineering begins. And so there may be revisions to the draft plan through the detailed engineering that are required.
Counselor?
Okay, thank you. With respect to the street width, I'm going to speak about in the 2Bs, the area behind the town hall. So the 1.5 parking standard, is that, I mean, you can't have a 1.5 parking standard for a house. So, I mean, we are expecting people to, if they have 2 cars, to park one in the garage and one in the driveway. We know that often doesn't happen. So my question is about the street width. Is the street wide enough that there can be parking on one side and still have passage for a car coming and a car going?
Mr. Waters? You're on mute, Mr. Waters.
Apologize, Mr. Mayor. On the public street, the right-of-ways are designed in accordance with town standards. So within the block, the condo block townhousing, you have narrow rights of way. Where there are no driveways, you can park a car, so you don't block the driveway.
Counselor?
Right.
So you're able to park, my understanding is you're able to park just where there's no driveway, where you block a driveway.
And I've seen, sometimes it's very hard in homes that close together to find any space on the street to park. That's a problem in some other areas that we have. With respect to the condominium setup, I know we've done that before. What is the advantage of that?
Mr. Waters?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, your Councilor Garden, your question is, what is the advantage of moving to a condo block form of development?
Correct.
It provides for an increased number of units and also provides for more affordability as well by allowing for more density on the site.
Counselor?
I'm sorry, condominium setup allows for more density on the site?
Mr. Waters?
That's correct, through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, so instead of building singles, you in this case are building condo townhouses. I mean, you can increase the number of units and you can increase the affordability as well.
Council?
as opposed to just regular townhouses?
Mr.
Okay,
Waters, I
I
think the councilor's asking what's the advantages of creating it as I guess in essence, like a condo corp, instead of just having it as a simple townhouse complex that isn't a condo board in essence. So I think that's kind of what the councilor's getting at. If I'm correct, Councilor Gardner, is that correct? Yes,
Exactly.
you had, okay. Mr. Waters?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, if you go to a street townhouse format, those are typically built on public roads, which means that the road right of way are wider, and they're not subject to any condominium board or any of that at all. So it's an advantage. I mean, and then in terms of the condo corp, the maintenance is maintained by the condo corp. All the properties are maintained the same way. There's restrictions also on in terms of the some of the exterior features in terms of modifications. You'll have to get approval from the condo board. So it creates more of a uniform built form at the end of the day.
Councilor?
Thank you. Thank you. How many more minutes do I have, Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Clerk, I think you have a lot because we have 10 minutes first time around, so you still have a little bit to go.
Okay, so I'm not in favor of this development. I'll start with some of my reasons why. I'm familiar with the condo townhouse neighborhood, and what happens is, yes, the streets are more narrow and you can't park on them. And although it's less expensive to buy the house, the condo fees can be quite high. And someone in my family is actually moving from that kind of a development exactly because of that, the condo fees. So it's often people don't realize that when they buy it. It just sounds a lot more affordable. And yet at the end of the day, they have these extra charges. With respect to, I'll go to the parkettes. There's one parkette is 0.6. And no, let me start with the 0.7. The 0.7, which is near the retirement home, it's going to be serving almost 300 residents. I'm wrong. Sorry, 210 residents. That's okay. But the one that's even smaller, 0.6, is going to be servicing at a ratio of 3 people per house, almost 400 people. And we're looking at, with respect to that, we're looking at 6,200 square feet. That's roughly 80 by 90 feet. That's way too small for the number of people that we are going to be having living. This is on the west side of Mavrinac. The number of people who are living there, the dense housing, I think that that park needs to be much bigger. And I know there are other parks in the area, but this is going to be the neighborhood park. And I think we would not be serving our future residents well to give them such a small area. I'll leave the snow storage to Councillor Gilliland. I do have some questions. With respect to Mr. Gibbons' comment and actual fact that the lots have been increased from 38 to 42 foot width, I don't think the residents on the other side of the street, I think that's Kane is one of the streets, Halderson I think is the other. They have 50-foot lots. I don't think they're going to be very happy with that. That's all for now, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Councillor Kim, go ahead. Councillor Gilliland, did you have your hand up? No. Okay. Did you? Oh, you do now. Or did you have it before? Because I didn't see it before. And I'll go Councillor Kim. I'll go Councillor Kim first. Yeah, I'll go Councillor Kim first. Councillor Kim.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A while back, I used to live in a condominium structured townhouse myself. And to, I can't speak to every single condo structure, but with respect to these types of neighborhoods, to my knowledge, they're not like high-rise condos where after year 8 and 10, the maintenance fees or the condo fees rise substantially because of you have to fix the structure, heating, HVAC, all that kind of stuff, and having a pool. But when you have a townhouse structure, from my knowledge, is that the condo fees on a monthly basis are quite low. I mean, we're talking maybe $100, $150 a month. That's from my experience, because what they do is maintain the quality of the green space, whether it's little parkettes or whether it's the boulevards, snow removal. That's what it pays for. If there's roofing issues or maintenance issues with the townhomes themselves, it's the homeowner that takes care of them. So it's not a typical condo structure like a high rise. And, Mr. Waters can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's my understanding. With regards to, I just want to clarify with Councillor Gardner's comment is that I have spoken with many of the residents who live on the 50-foot homes on Westlock, Halderson, and Kane. And the main concern was that transition, those single detached along the periphery. And to my knowledge, most of them are quite satisfied with the 42 footers. They saw the elevations, and to my knowledge, they have no complaints. Who knows, there might have been one or two that haven't spoken to me, but to my knowledge, majority are satisfied with the peripheral homes. Thank you, that's all.
Thank you. Councillor Gilliland?
Thank you. And I guess it's good to hear that adjacent residents are happy with the adjustment. So that's really good news. As far as the snow storage, I think that site plan, I guess, is going to take care of exactly where that goes. I don't know if Mr. Waters has anything to add to that over and above what Mr. Stewart has already provided.
Mr. Waters?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no, Mr. Stewart is correct that through the site plan process, we will address snow storage in the condo block and also on the retirement residence.
Councillor?
Thank you. And just out of curiosity, because it's hard to see on that plan when it was around the corner on the ends, are they taking up parking spots to do that? Or is there like a kind of like a flat kind of mulched area that they plan on pushing it? I didn't tell.
Mr. Waters?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I don't have that information at the moment.
Councillor?
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, that's fine. Otherwise, I would hope that they would at least pay to remove it, because obviously we don't want to be taking up the parking spots because we're kind of already at a threshold. Other than that, I'm still pretty happy with the adjustments that they made. I believe, through you, Mr. Mayor and Mr. Waters, this was designated as employment lands prior to this site plan being presented today, correct?
Waters?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that is correct, yes.
Councillor?
Exactly. So I look at it, much needed housing. We need to grow, and having nice 40-foot lots adjacent is probably better than backing onto a department store with lights and garbage disposal and all that kind of noisy stuff that we don't want to have at 3 a.m. or whatever. So I think it's great. I like the sightline adjustment. I love the fact that the comments were provided in an email that I requested with the previous comments from the public, and a lot was addressed. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Councillor Gardner? Oh, Councillor Gallo.
Thank you. Through you to Mr. Waters. What is the maximum height that OPA 30 would allow on these properties?
Mr. Waters?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I believe it is a 4-story apartment. I'd have to confirm that.
Councillor?
And the proposal is a 6-story supportive housing senior citizen home. Is that correct?
Mr. Waters?
That is correct, sir.
Counselor,
Was it?
thank you. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none.
Oh.
Oh, Counselor Gardner, second time, go ahead.
Thank you. And through you, Mr. Mayor, to Mr. Waters. Mr. Waters, what is the visitor parking ratio?
Mr. Waters?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it is a 20%.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll just have another comment on the condo structure. With the condo structure, it's true the town doesn't have to pay for paving roads or snow removal. So that helps us. But it means that the people who buy these less expensive townhouses do have to pay for that. And I don't know exactly how much it is a month that my family members were paying. I didn't think of asking, but I do know it's one of the reasons that they moved. So the other problem with this structure is that the roads are allowed to be more narrow. So there's absolutely no ability to park in front of your house. And there's also no boulevard. There's no trees. So imagine there's a small front yard where people can plant trees, but it's not very green. And I think that's what we're going for. I didn't ask about the lighting, so maybe I could do that now in such a dense, in some of the subdivision, which is so dense. Mr. Waters, can you speak to the lighting, or will that be part of site plan?
Mr. Waters?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that is correct, Councillor Gardner. The lumen plan will be submitted as part of the site plan process.
And could you also speak to my comment on the 0.6 hectare park, which is 0.17 acres, which equals something like 90 by 80 feet for 300, oh my goodness, 400 residents?
Mr. Waters?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So those are private amenity features. Our comment from Parks was that the area parks can service these new residents. These are private amenity features intended for the residents of the condo block and also for the senior retirement home as well. So through the site plan process, we will work on the size of the park blocks, their orientation, and also what they will contain. And we will take forward the comments that are raised here tonight with regards to the park blocks themselves.
Councilor?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I'll just close. I probably won't be on council when the residents are living in these homes. I predict that a lot of people are going to be very unhappy, and they will be coming to council with their complaints. I am glad to know that the building code has increased the protection on the windows, so hopefully there won't be a lot of noise. But is there any thought of putting up a noise barrier or at least trees along Wellington?
Mr. Waters? Through you, Mr. Mayor. So the next stage of the process will be submission of a detailed noise study to deal with noise and the recommended mitigation for that, which could include any noise walls, any berming, and also architectural or design features to conform to the provincial guidelines for noise.
Thank you. Is there room between Wellington and then there's the sidewalk and the development? Do you know what the setback is going to be? Is there going to be room for berms or walls or trees?
Mr. Waters?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, definitely there'll be room for tree plantings. I don't believe that this development is looking at noise walls along the Wellington frontage.
Thank you. Do you know how wide that setback is going to be from our sidewalk?
Mr. Waters?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I don't have that information at my fingertips at the moment.
Council,
But I would add, I would add that the region has commented on the application and they are supportive of the draft plan of subdivision as in front of you today.
Thank you, Mr. Waters. For next week, could you find out what room there is there to do tree planting?
Certainly.
Mr. Waters, thank you.
Thank you. I understand that we're supposed to do intensification. To me, this is way too intense development. And I just think it's wrong. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson?
Thank you. Through to Mr. Waters. Mr. Waters, one of the additional pieces of information that Mr. Givens and the developers have presented has to do with the line of sight drawings with respect to those homes on Kane and Halderson and Westlock. Well, I appreciate the fact that they presented them and they've, in their viewpoint, believe that the building won't be obtrusive to those people living on those streets as a result of the line of sight drawings. Have you and or our staff also reviewed these drawings and come to the same conclusion that line of sight won't be an issue with regards to the seniors building height, and that and can you confirm that it won't be obtrusive to those people living on those streets?
Mr. Waters?
For you, Mr. Mayor, yes, we have reviewed the drawings that were presented today by Mr. Given, and we concur with the recommendation that you will not be able to see the top of the building from the existing Kane residences.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll call a vote. All those in favor? Opposed? That carries. Next, we have, we'll go to we'll go into our 8.2, Councillor, because I think that one's important as well. Okay, 8.2, Library Square Governance Update. Recommendation that report number CMS 21-022 be received. 2, that staff implement a unified internet technology network across the entire Library Square complex, including the Aurora Public Library. 3, that staff assume responsibility for all aspects of the computer network for Library Square, including the wide area network, local area network, Wi-Fi, networking, and meeting room hardware/software across the entire Library Square complex, including the Aurora Public Library. 4, that staff report back in September with an IT implementation status update, including service level agreements for the Aurora Public Library and the Aurora Cultural Center. 5, that staff assume responsibility for all facility bookings across the entire Library Square complex, including the meeting spaces adjoining the Aurora Public Library, but not the remainder of the library. Would someone like to move the recommendation? Councillor Humphreys, seconder. Councillor Thompson, comments or questions on this one? Councillor Gilliland.
Thank you. Just a quick comment that I did reach out to the Cultural Center, who is in support of what's being presented today. So that's good news. And we're also really pleased with the existing quote on page 5. Existing programs and services currently provided by the Library and Cultural Center will be accommodated from a space allocation perspective. So I just kind of wanted to throw that out there, that they were really happy to see that part in the report. And hopefully this will create a very seamless booking experience and make it consistent throughout for not only programming, but also for the pricing.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. Through you to Mr. Rose. I guess I just want to get a better sense with regards to the IT plan and sort of centralizing it through the town. It doesn't really speak too much to potential savings as a result of doing that. You know, it kind of reminds me of what we try and do with the N6, where we look to partner with other municipalities for savings. And I see some similarities in doing this with the library and the cultural center. So the report a little bit, light at this point on any potential savings as a result of it, either for the town or for the library or for the cultural center. And I just wonder if perhaps either Mr. Rose or Mr. Nadarozny, who's now appeared, could maybe speak to that in a little bit more detail.
Sale.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, thank you. So the intent here is to be in a position to support one unified network across the entire complex. Council may recall that the cultural center basically contracted out, if you will, for lack of a better term, their IT to our IT department to achieve that same kind of synergy and to enable us to support, one network as opposed to two separate ones for the cultural center. When we look at the expanded complex, there are a number of systems that have been on independent networks in the past, and we're certainly looking to make sure that those are all on one network as we move to manage the entire complex. So things like our security systems, our HVAC control systems, other pieces of technology that we use. Some were on a library network, others were on a town network. And so the intent is to standardize those as well. In terms of cost savings, we haven't really got to that level of detail. We would expect to do a service level agreement with the library in this case, and look at which services we could possibly take over from the library on their behalf, and what services they would want to maintain on their own. If they are, very independent and only important to the library without other interfaces. Some of the other technology that we think will be less expensive to support would be if, for example, if all the meeting rooms were on the same platform. When we get into setting up for presentations, for perhaps a conference type use where there's breakouts into 4 different meeting rooms, it would be much more advantageous to have all of those meeting rooms running on the same network. So there's quite a bit of sort of hardware and back end technology that we think will be more efficient and more effective if delivered on one platform, as opposed to supporting 2 or 3 different network platforms.
Councilor?
Thank you. And I guess through you then to Mr. Nadarozny, would it be possible when you report back in September to maybe give a little bit more detail around potential cost savings and or ramifications of it? Because certainly from a functionality perspective, it makes sense. And, I agree it will be more efficient and effective, or at least it sounds like it will be. But again, I'd just like to get some more information with regards to what the potential cost savings may or may not be.
Mr. Sale?
Certainly, to you, Mr. Mayor, we will outline that when we come back with a service level agreement with the library, and that information will also be captured as part of the final suggestions for the operating budget for the entire complex.
Councilor?
That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Call the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? That carries. So we will move to should we do 8.7, Councilor Gardner? Did you want to do it, Councilor Gardner? 8.7?
What about 8.4 and 8.6?
Okay, so we'll do, so I wasn't sure if you felt from your perspective, if those were like from your, I just wanted to get the ones that you wanted in.
It's DC bylaws and zoning bylaw.
That's fine, we'll do 8, so we'll move to 8.4, we'll come back to 8.3. So we'll do 8.4, updated development charges study and bylaw approval. Recommendation that report number FIN 21-029 be received. 2, that the updated development charges background study report presented at the May 18th, 2021 special meeting of council be adopted. 3, that the proposed amending development charges bylaw include included with the updated development charges background study be enacted on June 22nd, 2021. Someone like to move the recommendation? Councillor Humphries, Councillor Thompson, comments or questions on this item? Councillor Gardner, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have to change screens. It is on, my question is on page 411. Oh. And my question is, it's under general government. They're allowing us to do certain things under the DC bylaw, including studies with service related to a highway, etc. There's nothing here on studies for climate change. Could staff comment on that?
Ms. Wainwright Van Kessel.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So climate change is not being identified as an eligible service under the DC Act. So that's why it's not included. This follows the provincial legislation. So if that was something that council was interested in, then it would be lobbying of the provincial government that would need to take place.
Do you want me to call the Premier, Councillor?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. You do it often. Why not? So, Ms. Wainwright Van Kessel, have you heard any feedback from or any rumblings from any other municipalities about this? Because imagine municipalities are going to be doing a lot of studies with respect to this.
Ms. Wainwright Van Kessel.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, in the context of development charges, no, I have not. Even if a study was done for development charges or for climate change, we would have to consider that that study would have a significant benefit to the existing community. So very little of it would even be able to be charged to growth, because it's not about growth, it's about our existing community.
Yeah. Thank you. That makes sense. Thank you very much.
Anything else, Councillor?
No.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Call a vote. All those in favor? Opposed? That carries. We'll move to 8.6, which is town initiated housekeeping amendment to comprehensive zoning bylaw number 6000-17. Recommendations that 1, report number PDS 21-071 be received. 2, that a bylaw to amend comprehensive zoning bylaw number 600-17 be enacted at a future council meeting. Would someone like to move the recommendation? Councillor Thompson, Councillor Kim, comments or questions on this item? Councillor Garner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm the only one that spoke to this last time. I think I'll be the only one with questions. I'd like to know on attachment 3, which shows the changes on page 2, the definition.
Mr. Waters.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I didn't hear a question.
Okay.
Councillor.
Thank you. So it's the definition of a landscaping strip of land solely for supporting tree planting, shrubs, flowers, grass, or other such vegetative elements. So I was asking last time about retaining walls, because if you put a retaining wall in the landscaping strip, the way it has to be built, well, you can't put a tree in there. So according to this definition, it doesn't look like there are any retaining walls that are going to be permitted.
Mr. Waters.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that is correct. It does not permit retaining walls.
Councillor.
Thank you. Thank you. And with respect to the 3 meters, on the 3 meters and then the 2 meters and the 1.5 meter, sorry, I've lost the word, buffer, I guess it would be. Is there, the 3 meters will be enough if the soil condition is good. With respect to the 2 meters, it's not going to allow a full maturity of a tree, especially a tree canopy. And, you know, the goal of our urban tree canopy is to, or everybody's urban tree canopy is to create the most beneficial environment when we plant a tree, so that we're going to have mature trees with big canopies. So is there any way that that 2 meters could be increased? And the same question would be for the areas that we're allowing a 1.5 buffer.
Mr. Waters? Mr. Waters, you're on mute.
So sorry. I apologize. Mr. Mayor, what we found out with working with our parks people was that 2 meters was the absolute minimum to support a tree towards maturity. You know, in some cases, you know, we are going to have to recognize that you know, we don't have sufficient property available for a 3 meter width, which is, especially with existing properties, which is why we inserted that new standards, new C, which is in attachment 2, that is in red. So we'll try our best to achieve as much width as possible for a landscape strip. In some cases, it may not be possible given the existing configuration of the lot and the building that's on there.
Councilor?
Thank you, Mr. Waters. I understand that, but sometimes we have less of a landscaping strip in order to provide a developer with more area to develop. And I mean, the greater good is that we plant as many trees that will come to maturity as possible with mature tree canopies. So am I right on that? Like, why would what kind of properties would only have a 2 meter or 1.5 meter landscaping strip?
Mr. Waters?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, they may, it's more for, I guess, the existing or older properties that have, for instance, a 1.5 meter landscape strip. And we've recognized that in terms of trying to increase that landscape strip, which is why we have that range in that new standard to allow for, you know, a flexible amount of a landscape strip, recognizing lot frontage, and, you know, somewhere between 1.5 and 3 meters, depending on the frontage of the property.
Councilor?
I might be missing a link. So usually, as far as I know, the zoning bylaws are consulted when somebody wants to do a new build. We're not going back over existing build. So when somebody wants to do a new build, then you know, why couldn't we require them to do a larger landscaping strip? It might mean the development would be a meter smaller, but as I said, we want the trees.
Mr. Waters?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, what we're hoping to avoid are minor variances to reduce the landscaping strip even further. So that's why we allowed for the range. As I said before, you know, we feel, based on our conversation with parks, is that, you know, 2 meters can support a tree as it matures over time. 1.5 is probably not the best environment for the tree, but you know, our objective here is to try to get as much wide a landscape strip as possible.
Councilor?
Thank you. And I also had a conversation, and yes, 2 meters can support a mature tree, but you will not get the mature tree canopy. And it's the mature tree canopy that we're interested in. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other comments or questions? Call the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? That carries. So we will move to 8.7, application for site plan and lifting of holding symbol 460 and 480 William Graham Drive. The recommendation is one, that report number PDS 21-074 be received. Two, that site plan application file SP 2020-07 to permit the construction of a 7-story building with 125 independent living units be approved in principle, subject to the following conditions. A, that all outstanding comments and requirements of the town and external agencies be addressed to the satisfaction of the Director of Planning and Development Services prior to execution of a site plan agreement. B, that the owner enters into a site plan agreement with the town to address requirements of the town and external agencies, including but not limited to the provision for payment by the owner of all applicable fees, securities, and any other financial obligations. And three, that a zoning bylaw amendment to remove the H holding symbol be approved and that the amending bylaw be presented for enactment at a future council meeting. Would someone like to move the recommendation? Councillor Kim, seconder. Councillor Gilliland, thank you. Any comments or questions on this one? Councillor Garner, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I won't be voting for it, although it's late in the day. And I didn't vote for it last time. The area residents that got in touch with me were concerned about the height. And I agree with them. And it is just too high and disrespectful, I feel, to the existing residents.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Call vote. All those in favor? Opposed? That carries. 8.8. Aurora Economic Development Corporation project funding request. Recommendation one, that report number PDS 21-076 be received. Two, that the creation of a new project with total capital budget authority of $20,000 for the purposes of an AEDC marketing campaign to be funded from the Economic Development Reserve be approved. And three, that the management and distribution of the funds be directed through the Economic Development operating budget in accordance with the town's finance and procurement processes. Would someone like to move the recommendation? Councillor Humphrey, second by Councillor Kim. Any comments or questions on this item? Seeing none? Oh, Councillor Gilliland, go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, I just had a quick question about the funding. I'm just curious. I'm a little confused. Is it typical to allocate funds for the economic development, like for a board? Is this what it's intended for using, is to funnel through the economic development board? Or is this like something that's comprised of everything with the BIA, the economic development board? I'm just trying to understand a fulsome picture. Just maybe through Mr. Mayor to Lisa, if you can kind of explain a little bit about how this came about and what the intention is and where it's going to funnel.
Lisa, I was going to go to our CAO to describe a corporation, but go ahead, Lisa. Go ahead. You can start off, and if our CAO wants to jump in after, we'll let them. But I think you're doing a good enough job, so go ahead.
Thank you. I actually think our CAO could probably answer the structure and how the fund was set up to do this, and then I can answer part two of the BIA and how all the other pieces work together. Absolutely.
So, Mr. CAO, go ahead. Did you want to talk about the structure and funding for a corporation?
To you, Mr. Mayor, thank you. In a formal way, the board, of course, has no funding associated directly with the board itself. It has no budget, and it serves as council's advisor on economic development strategy and projects. The existing fund, the Economic Development Reserve, was established by council years ago, and it has been used for any economic development type of projects that come along. The money is, I believe, the money that was originally earmarked for many years from a CIP that was underutilized. And so council at the time basically relabeled the reserve because of the lack of interest in this in the particular CIP that was being funded, and wanted to keep the use fairly consistent with economic development, and so just change it to an economic development reserve. It has been suggested that one of the roles of the board would be to look at projects that they would like to lead, and when those projects require some funding, this would be a natural reserve to go to, as they don't do, for example, an annual budget and plan out their year and make a budget request. So these would be very much sort of ad hoc projects that come along in the course of their activities as a board. So when this activity came up and there was a recognized need to provide extra funding beyond what staff have from a day-to-day perspective, then this was the natural reserve to suggest council might draw on if they supported the project as recommended by the board.
Councillor, Lisa, did you want to add to that with the BIA, or is that good enough?
Oh, for sure. I can just chime in that there are two totally separate entities, and the BIA self-funds on their own. The Economic Development Board is structured as the way that our CIO has laid out. So just to clarify.
Thank you. Councillor?
Thank you. I wanted the clarity of like how, the monies were going to be spent and where it was being allocated. I was just worried about duplication with some of the stuff with marketing and such, because I know that we've had consultation, consultants report about marketing and such. I understand you're trying to go from one objective to another. So I just really wanted to make sure that we're not duplicating, because I do know that the chamber as well is doing some website and social media as well. Explore Aurora has done some business profiles. And I guess in your opinion, is there anything here that would be considered duplication, or is this something that you see as something that's completely different? I just don't want to mix up the two and make it seem like we're doing the same thing.
Lisa?
For sure, and thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. What it is, it's a unique project that is not duplicating other areas of work. Where there is overlap is in the target sector piece. So the three separate committees of the Economic Development Corporation are all intertwined, and they all have a marketing piece to it. So what this project does is help to build that content and that messaging that's being targeted by the target sector group as well as the downtown group. So all of them are saying, who do we talk to? What do we say to them? How do we get our message out? What people in business and in a town can we get those unique stories from? So this project kind of ties that all together, but it also for the C-suite committee, it connects with those business leaders that they've identified to build relationships and grow that network. Because of COVID, they couldn't do that in person, because initially they had spoken about having networking events or being engaged in that way. So we kind of shifted it to a virtual world, and at the same time gathering tons of content for the other two sectors and the economic development website. So big loaded answer. I hope that helps.
Councillor?
Yeah, no, it does. And I was reading in the report that some of it will be done in-house, but then you're going to be hiring externally to do more of the production that staff wouldn't be able to handle. Is that what I'm understanding?
Sorry, through you, Mr. Mayor. The bulk of the work will be on the production side. And then we kind of split off when it comes to the social media and promoting on the website. So one component within the 20,000 budget is paid advertising and paid promotion specific to target market investment attraction, where the town's communication staff is really stepping up, is helping us make sure we've solidified the messaging. But when we go to promote internally or throughout the town to our residents and our businesses, that piece is taken care of. So they're really backstopping a lot of the work, and also being our sounding board, because we've got a lot of expertise in that group.
Councillor?
Okay, thank you. As far as the businesses, because I think you said there was maybe approximately 6 that would be targeted as far as considered leaders. That was the term that you had used in the report. Who decides what those 6 leadership businesses are that we're going to target? Like, is that been defined, or is that who decides that?
Lisa?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, the committee themselves have come up with, we're kind of putting together a checklist per se. So what we're looking for are a number of our business leaders that have that unique story. It would be a mix of businesses that are people that have started their business and grown it here from day one. Other businesses that have moved here, and those business leaders, gathered roots and grew from there, maybe the last 40 years or so. Immigrant business owners, female-led business owners, are a real mix and collection of people. And that's kind of the unique stories that we want to get out. The other side that you'll see in the report too are business leaders that live in town, but maybe their business is not necessarily here. But we've got some really strong insights and strong business leaders in here that we want to get those stories and why they've selected the town and what's unique and what recommendation would they give to other business leaders in looking at Aurora for their business location.
Counselor?
Thank you. And I assume when you say website, because we currently have a website, I know it hasn't really been utilized. It's kind of gone stagnant. Is that where you're going to piggyback on the current website and kind of grow it from there?
Lisa?
Like the current one?
Lisa?
Yes, so through you, Mr. Mayor, the intention right now, there's investinaurora.ca website, as well as the business website on aurora.ca. So the intention is to combine those two with new content. So there's one portal for business investment, and this content will help to build those stories. So yes, it's redoing and updating the website, but it's combining those two. So there's not separate in 2 different directions.
Perfect. Love to have a conversation offline about that website.
Excellent.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Ms. House, Lisa, I love the concept. I think that, identifying these stories, helps you pick out, what matters most to business owners and leaders, and being able to relate those stories to everyone, helps resonate. And I think it's a different tack than we've taken before in the past by using just, facts and figures and numbers and so forth. So, I'm optimistic about the program and certainly supportive of it. I like the fact that in the report, you've also identified that you'll be coming back to us with some KPIs so we can have a better sense of how to gauge the success of the program. So I like to see that. I think my one comment really is just around not so much duplication of efforts, but where there may be opportunities to complement other initiatives or to collaborate. I know that the town through York Region, and more specifically York Region, already promotes, the communities as a whole through the Greater Toronto Marketing Alliance, through other initiatives that they may do. Is there a way to, either, reach out to Charles Banfield, who presented to council a few weeks back, and see if there's opportunities for him to somehow collaborate or complement what we're doing, and or some of the stuff that the region is doing to help either get the message out or help us find these messages that we can be able to promote.
Lisa?
Thank you. And through you, Mr. Mayor, it's an excellent suggestion and spot on. One of the first partners that we reached out to with this project is Central Counties Tourism. And one of the reasons they really like this project and will be partnering with us in some capacity are those key stories. And they are hungry for content. Most websites are hungry for new content, and they're looking to promote Aurora in their venues and avenues that they promote through the region as well. They have very little information about Aurora on their major websites. And one of our implementation matrix action items is to build those relationships with the region and the different partners in the region. One of that is being able to contribute to what they're building. So this content will help build those relations and get them speaking about Aurora.
Councillor?
Great. Look forward to seeing more as we go through the process. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kim?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Lisa, and your team, including Nick Kasikoff, for the great job you've been doing thus far with our Economic Development Board. I just want to highlight that, we've come a long way since even the last, 2-3 years. I think another way of looking at this package is that if you look at previous packages that Aurora had to give out to potential businesses who wish to expand in Aurora, it was really just one little pamphlet that gives you, demographics of Aurora. We have a educated population. We have, talks about our taxes and things of that nature. But what we're doing here is more than just a pamphlet, but it's not just a one-time marketing opportunity, but this is something that we can use for years and years, that we can be the foundation of something larger. So this is not a one-time use and throw away, but it's something that we can put on the shelf and use again and again. And I just want to also, highlight just, the great work that you've done. And I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, you've had the Involved Aurora Roundtable, where we had panelists from the food and beverage manufacturing. We had from fintech and healthcare and health technology, and we had panelists from right here from Aurora, living in Aurora and working in Aurora, and it was very impressive the type of talent and the quality of talent that Aurora has, and that's who and what we are showing off to the rest of the world and in Ontario, that Aurora is a great place not only to live, but to expand your business and create new business. So I like, the plan that you have. It's not just one plan and you parachute it and that's it, but there's an evolution of steps that we're looking at here. And I just want to say kudos to all the prior board members, because it's off, we're piggyback off the foundation that they've provided for, new committee members such as myself. So I just want to say thank you. And in terms of the KPIs, and we talked about the KPIs in our board meetings, and once we choose the right specific items in terms of the packages that are offered, then the board will be better prepared to offer the specific KPIs that council often asks for, including myself. So thank you very much, and I'll be in broad support of the staff recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other comments or questions? Call a vote. All those in favor? Opposed? That carries. So, Council, we will go back to 8.3. Annual reports to the community 2019 and 2022. We have a presentation by our CAO. Mr. CAO, floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I'll ask the clerk's office to put up the presentation that we have. Oh, thank you. So it's my pleasure to be here on behalf of your executive leadership team to present the 2019 and 2020 annual reports to the community. You can flip the slide, please. Oh, any question? Any question?
That was a quick presentation, Mr. CEO.
I'm going to be brief. The purpose of this brief presentation is to provide an opportunity to share with Council an overview of the reports to the community that are included in tonight's agenda package. Before I do that, though, please allow me to provide some brief context for the reports. As you will probably remember, in 2016, 17, and 18, we produced annual reports for the town of Aurora. In 2020, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we had to put some activities on pause, and the 2019 annual report was one such activity. This is the first opportunity staff have had to bring forward the 2019 report to the community, as well as the 2020 report. In the past, these reports have been inclusive of financial information, and for that reason, the 19 and 20 reports are being presented tonight at the same time as the final year-end financial reports. The intent is to provide council with and the community with a complete overview of the town's performance over the past 2 years and share a snapshot of the work that's been done to achieve council's vision and the Aurora strategic plan. The 2019 and 20 reports to the community are structured along the 3 pillars of the town's economic strategic plan, which are natural, environment, economy, and community. Sorry, natural environment, economy, and community. So looking at 2019, that was seemed like a very long time ago, but we want to acknowledge the good work that was done that year, and the fact that we had a global pandemic in 2020 doesn't take away from those accomplishments. Major work was accomplished in key organizational projects, and we think it's worth noting that 2019 was also council's first year together as a group, and that work was advanced in many areas. While the JOC wasn't built in 2019, it was 2019 that it received its LEED designation. The town changed its community engagement practices, establishing a community engagement policy and setting up the first iteration of a new engagement platform. While those practices have evolved since then, it was in 2019 that we laid the foundations for the work that continues today. In 2019 as well, the town was recognized as the 11th best community in Canada by Maclean's magazine. And last, but certainly not least, we achieved our silver certification in Excellence Canada, thanks to the efforts of a large staff team and the commitment of the entire organization. This was one of the organization's key achievements in 2019, and it has laid the foundation for the great work that is being undertaken today to achieve our gold certification. On this slide, we have broken down some of the highlights of 2019 across the 3 strategic plan pillars, and you can see that we were able to achieve results both internally and externally. We had a focus on policy with new policies for clean communities and the completion of the stable neighborhoods policy, which council continued to work on into 2020. We received awards in a number of areas, Healthy Water Awards, for example, and recognition at the platinum level of being a youth-friendly community. 2 of our special events placed in the top 100 festivals and events in Ontario. On the economy side, we issued 1,150 building permits, continuing to grow our community, and awarded $20 million in contracts as an organization. You will see in the attachment to the agenda that there are a wide range of other activities that were completed in 2019. These are simply some of the highlights to show the breadth of work that was done. Moving to 2020, we could not talk about 2020, of course, without talking about COVID-19 pandemic. So much of the work that was accomplished in 2020 revolved around maintaining health, well-being, and business continuity, and doing so in a way that balanced quality of life for residents and continuity of the services we deliver. This was a huge collaborative effort between council, staff, and the community at large. I would be remiss if I didn't recognize how much effort went into the continuity of service from the entire organization and from the community. The 2020 annual report to the community has a section dedicated specifically for accomplishments in spite of, or thanks to, the pandemic. In addition to pandemic response, I want to highlight a few organizational-wide activities that I feel warrant special attention. We maintain momentum on key projects, breaking ground on Library Square, the single largest capital project in the town's history. We also launched a new town website, as well as the second iteration of our community engagement platform to continue to work with residents to achieve the community vision. We distributed over 1,700 activity bags of all kinds to Aurorans, helping residents to maintain their quality of life. And finally, in light of the pandemic, council established the Aurora Cares Community Action Team, the outcomes of which were presented to council last month and whose work continues today. Next slide, please. As I did for 2019, I want to briefly highlight some of the actions that were undertaken in 2020 with a direct link back to the strategic plan. One of our major accomplishments was instituting e-billing service for water bills, enhancing customer service while at the same time tightening our internal processes. Despite the pandemic, we issued 990 building permits during the year. We received the Municipality of the Year Award from Festivals and Events Ontario, thanks to the incredible work of our special events, operations, and communications teams. We were also a runner-up to the Provincial Spotlight Award for our Culture, Rally, and Culture in a Box program. We began work on the official plan review, and that work will continue for some time still. And together, we were able to maintain service levels and continue to invest in the community while maintaining a 1.96% tax levy increase, less than we had originally budgeted for. So in conclusion, as I hope can be seen through this presentation and by looking at the reports attached to the agenda, the work that was undertaken in 2019 and 2020 reflects the wide range of services that the town of Aurora provides to residents. Staff and council have worked together to advance many of council's objectives and strategic plan actions. I want to take this opportunity to recognize the efforts of the executive leadership team who have led the organization and the managers across the organization who have led their respective teams in times of crisis and uncertainty. It is on their behalf that I'm here tonight to celebrate just some of the successes of the last 2 years. So thank you for this opportunity, and your executive leadership team would be more than happy to take any questions at this time. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, CEO. We are at 9:02, so what I'm going to do is before we go into the report, I'm going to take a health break. I've been asked if we could, so we will do that, and we'll be back at 9:12, and we'll go into the report and the presentation. Okay, do we have any questions on the presentation? So we'll take the health break, 10 minutes, be back 9:12, please, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, council. Everyone can make it back. We're going to begin. Okay, we are on 8.3. Recommendation is that report number CAO 21-006 be received for information. Would someone like to move that recommendation? And I'll ask for comments or questions on the report and the presentation. Councillor Thompson, second. Councillor Kim, any comments or questions? Seeing none. Oh, Councillor Thompson, go ahead.
Just a comment. I certainly appreciate staff doing this. Even though 2020 was a challenging year and we weren't able to produce it at that time, I think it's important that we've gone ahead and done it for both 2019 and 2020. If you think of the town as a corporation, then the residents are their shareholders, and the annual reports, the financial statements, the budgets, these are key documents that, we always need to provide the residents on a regular basis at a minimum, so that they can always have an understanding of how the town's performed and what the plans are going forward. And to me, it's one of those key documents that we need to continue to produce on a regular basis. And so I appreciate staff catching up and doing the work on it. Look forward to 2021 when the year is over. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other comments or questions? And before I call it, I'll just say it's nice to see some pictures that have a lot of people together. So maybe we'll get back to that very soon. So all those in favor? Opposed? That carries. Last item, 8.5. It is 2020 year-end operating budget results as of December 31st, 2020. Recommendation is that report number FIN 21-031 be received for information. Would someone like to move the recommendation? Councillor Kim, second. Anyway, second. Councillor Thompson, thank you. Comments or questions on this one? I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? That carries. All right, notices of motion. We have a few of them for next week. Regional report. York Regional Council highlights May 27, 2021 be received for information. Would someone like to move that? Councillor Gardner, it's seconded by Councillor Thompson. Any comments or questions on that regional report? Councillor Gardner, go ahead.
Just a comment, Mr. Mayor. It's a very good report. There's a lot going on at Regional Council on the region's behalf, on the community's behalf. So really too much to comment on right now, but if anybody's listening, it's worth a read.
Well, it is a very fulsome report. I agree. Thank you. Councillor Gilliland.
Thank you. I just kind of wanted to also, sorry, I'm trying to pull up this report. We move along really fast. There's a couple great things in here, and one of them is York Region had won, I think, Tree City Award or something or other, which I thought was really neat. And also Richmond Hill, but it was nice to see that we were named as a region. I guess it's something that's kind of handed out on an annual basis. Just trying to find the actual stat. We just moved along so fast. Unless you know anything off the top of your head, Mayor Marcus, about the achievement that York Region had won.
It is an annual achievement that's given out. Yeah, we've done a tremendous job in our canopy cover and our woodland cover, and actually from our canopy cover, Aurora is probably right at the top end. I think we've increased our canopy the most out of all 9 municipalities. So yeah, it's a great achievement, and hopefully we continue on that path.
Perfect. And I did find it said 102 1,000, just a little above that, trees were planted and over 2,100 volunteer hours. So that was the recognition for the 1 year. So I thought that was really neat to point out, and we should be really proud of that. And I understand that York Region also pointed out the canopy coverage, like I mentioned, and maintained its goal of 40% by 2051. So it's good to see that they're keeping on track with that goal. I think that's it for the York Regional report for me. Thanks.
Yep. Any other comments or questions on the regional report? Call the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? That carries. Let me go around the room for new business. Councilor Gilliland. New business?
Yes, I do have some new business there. We did receive a few emails. I know I was emailing kind of privately back and forth. I know Councillor Gardner had replied all as well, but there was some issues about a crosswalk on Henderson Drive, and I realized that there is some information from staff that is coming back, and I believe Councillor Gardner had asked, can we have a definitive timeline of how quickly we can get that report on the next GC. So through you, Mr. Mayor, to planning, or Mr. Waters, can we get that report in the next GC?
Mr. Waters?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I will check with Anki to see if she's done the required homework. And if she has, then we will target July 6th GC.
Okay. Councillor?
That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. New business. So who's next? Sorry, you guys all just jumped around on me. Councillor Humphries. New business. Any new business?
Yes, thank you. Just a couple things. First one is the same as Councillor Gilliland. This was actually brought forward to the Community Services Group. So I think it was in March or April. And staff did do a review of the crosswalk, and there was some malfunctioning going on for a while. So staff was already watching this site to see if after the functioning of this traffic light would work, and obviously it's not. So it's not a surprise to them. I know the staff has been working on another resolution, but absolutely something has to be done. So I appreciate Councillor Gardner's perspective of bringing it back on to GC. The sooner the better. So I don't think it's going to be a real new start. I think there's some good information that can be brought forward so we can get something done there. The only other thing I wanted to bring up, if it's possible, through you, Mr. Mayor, is that there's across Cousins Park, there's a little walkway at Royal Road that people utilize to go through the back, and it's a cute little creek running through there, and that's been sort of blocked, and I think there's gonna be a lot of work done with some erosion on the creek. I just wanted through you to staff if there's any opportunity to put something temporary back in, because I know it's a cute little walk that many people do. And if anyone knows anything about this, if not, I'll just follow up with staff later. So through Mr. Mayor to Mr. Downey, if he's got time or understands about this one.
Mr. Downey, did you have anything for tonight, or did you want Councillor Humphries to
I can follow up.
And have a conversation with you about it?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd appreciate following up with Councillor Humphries. I'm not quite sure whether it's our job or whether it's planning and development. So
sure.
I wouldn't mind touching base with you tomorrow, and we can follow up with.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Humphries. Councillor Gardner, new business.
Thank you. Also on the same problem, the crosswalk at Henderson. The resident had, one of the residents had a suggestion about installing one of those lights that are only activated by pedestrians when they need to cross, and it works very, very well at the one closer to Bathurst. Is that something the town of Aurora can do? That's not a regional matter. It's a town matter.
I believe Mr. Waters came to that, but I believe we can do that. Yeah, it shouldn't be a problem. It's going to be, I think, one of the options probably presented to us if we would like to go down that road. So yeah, I see Mr. Waters nodding his head. So there you go, Councilor.
Great. And I'm so glad we're going to be bringing it back earlier, because soon because, you know, I won't say why, but it would be certainly helpful to the residents. Mr. Downey, if I missed your email, I apologize. But what's doing with the, I don't know what we're calling it, the St. Andrews Boardwalk? It looks so fantastic, and it was so many years in the doing. I think you and I have been talking about this for 9 years, maybe more. Anyway, but it's closed off, and also the sidewalk is being torn up.
Mr. Downey, I'll let you answer that.
Okay, so thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you, Mr. Mayor. A couple of things. First of all, you're right. The sidewalk was being torn up at the corner, so that has been a bit of a delay, but that's not the main reason. We had some issues with regards to the supply material. At the corner of Yonge and in St. John's, there's a guardrail that needs to be installed. And we are having difficulty obtaining that, although I talked to staff today, actually, and I believe that is being secured fairly soon. We also have a gate that we need to install going into St. Andrews property prior to opening up to the public. So in talking to staff today, we're probably looking at a July opening.
And can I add, I think that there's also supposed to be some gateway signage that's going to be there, the Aurora sign, correct? That needs to be there as well.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that's correct. We have been discussing with St. Andrews College, and the signage issue is going to go up. It's not going to hold up the opening of the boardwalk. We want to get the boardwalk open, but we can't do it until we can secure public going into St. Andrews property, and of course making sure it's safe with the guardrail.
Yeah,
it looks great, and I can appreciate people wanting to walk on it. It
absolutely does look great. It looks absolutely stunning. So kudos on Klaus pushing for that, because I know he kept pushing for that, and some people didn't want it. So, but
oh, Mr. Mayor, it's really such a big story that also involves maybe losing funding if we didn't do it in time. So good to see it in place. Thank you, Mr. Downey.
Thank you, Councillor. Is that all, Councillor, for new business? We have public service announcements if you have a public service.
Yes, no, I'm going to do it right tonight.
Okay. Okay. So nothing else for new business. Okay. Councillor Kim, new business? No. Councillor Gallo, new business? No. Councillor Thompson, new business? Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Through to Mr. Nadarozny. Mr. Nadarozny, recently I asked with regards to the change in the province's plan to the phased approach as opposed to the color-coded approach. You know, we had a reopening plan and a back-to-work plan, so to speak, and you were going to speak with the pandemic working group and come back to us with a revised plan. Just curious where the status is of that and when we can expect that update.
Mr. CO?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. We have announced to staff that they will continue, those staff that are working remotely will continue to work remotely until after Labor Day weekend now. The region actually today just announced that they are taking the same position until January 2022. We are now in the midst of planning for what that return to work looks like. There is a lot of work being done at the municipal level in general and specifically within York Region. All of the municipalities within York Region and the region have together been working on sort of the future of work, taking the lessons learned from the pandemic and how we might offer more permanent changes to the delivery of services and to how work is done in the interests of a more efficient organization or organizations. But the return to work in the interim, so that's sort of really the work after the pandemic is, you know, no longer a big concern and what those changes look like. There's a lot of work going on about that. But there's less work going on, at least in a concerted effort, about how the various return to works will be phased in across the organizations, because the organizations are in somewhat different situations. So for us, we are working right now on what that looks like if things continue on the trend they are now, and if the numbers keep dropping, then we believe that there is a good prospect to start opening up town hall and allowing the public back into town hall. And we also want to, of course, at the same time, start the implementation of staff return to town hall as well. So we hope to detail that work in short order. We've already worked on it internally within the town. And I just had a meeting on this, in fact, this afternoon. And we're hoping to be able to provide a little more detail to staff before the summer break, and certainly to council as soon as we can, in terms of what the September timeframe looks like. And then as a guide, we're kind of using January as a timeline to establish, when maybe more permanent, more permanent changes to how we operate might be proposed for council's consideration. So that's the plan we're on now. We've also, in consultation with the mayor, there's only two more, one council meeting and then the cycles in July. So we have put off the probability of any in-person council meetings over the summer period. So we are also planning for the return of council to council chambers in September, and we'll have more information on what that looks like, whether it's a hybrid or whether at that time all the public parts of the council meetings are hosted in council chambers. So that work we're working on as well. But there'll be no change from what we are now, both from a meeting perspective and from a staff working remotely until after Labor Day right now.
So with regards to some of the details of that plan, sorry, through you, Mr. Mayor, to Mr. Nadarozny, can we expect a little bit more details or report, before that final July council meeting on the 13th or whatever?
Mr. Sale?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we're pushing for that. To be honest, the agenda for the next GC actually is being reviewed tomorrow, so the reports were in by then. So I can tell you that right now at this point we don't have that prepared, but it is important, and we will be preparing for the summer, for the return after summer. So we'll definitely try to get something on. It may be that if it's more of an information report as opposed to a large decision report, we always have the option of perhaps with the mayor's indulgence putting it on the council meeting itself to relay some of that information and some of the planning that's going on.
Councillor?
Thank you.
Thank you. And yeah, if it is an important issue, and we'll make sure we'll do our best to make sure that it's there. If it's available, we'll put it on there. Council, for new business, I just wanted to add a few things as far as from a pandemic point of view, what's going on. I'll be sending you guys an email. I'll try to send it out as soon as possible. But just to let everyone know, the Ontario government did announce support for the expansion of 12 new mental health beds and support spaces at South Lake Regional Healthcare's adult inpatient mental health unit. That's great news. As we all know, South Lake, even though it's not within our borders, it is our hospital. So I think that's some great news for South Lake and our community. Just to give everyone an update as far as from a vaccine perspective, as of today, 76.7% of York Region's adult population has received one dose, and 21.1% of York Region's adult population is fully vaccinated. So we're moving ahead, full steam ahead. We're going along, and just let everyone, 14 cases today in all of York Region. So the numbers are going down. Everything's looking, trending in a very positive direction. ICU numbers are going down. Public is doing their job. We need to continue to do our job to get everything moving, get everything back, get our economy going as well. We're doing it in a safe, cautious manner. And I think we'll very soon see that bright light that we've been looking at for a long time to try to get out of this. And I think that we're getting closer and closer to it. And so it's, I think that everyone's excited to see what comes out as we move forward in a positive direction. So I thought I would update you on that. And public service announcements. I'll go around the opposite way. Councillor Thompson, public service announcement? No. Councillor Gallo, public service announcement? No. Councillor Kim, public service announcement? No. Councillor Gartner, public service announcement?
Thank you, Mr. Muntz. It is Indigenous History Month, and we also had National Indigenous Peoples Day.
Thank you. And just to add to that, Councillor Gardner, I think maybe it's relevant to the topic since you brought it up. The entire government did announce today that they're supporting the identification, investigation, and protection and commemoration of Indian residential school burial sites, and I think they're providing, I think it's $10 million. So I think that's important to mention, considering what you
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and that also includes I would call it mental health supports for survivors.
Absolutely. Thank you, Councillor Gardner. Is there anything else? No. Okay. Councillor Humphreys, public service announcement.
Just Mr. Mayor, that farmers market, 8 to 1, still a huge success. Be there, lots of new vendors as well this year. So please come out and enjoy again, 8 to 1 at Town Park on Saturdays.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Gilliland, public service announcement.
Yeah, I just wanted to congratulate Glenn Murray. He was just announced as a new artistic outreach coordinator for the Aurora Cultural Center. I just want to congratulate him. He's a very welcome addition to the team, and I can't wait to work alongside him in the outreach side. So that's fantastic. The other thing I wanted to make a point with the vaccine, and perhaps Mavrinac, you can fill me in, is there's a lot of frustration with people who have had their first dose of AstraZeneca and cannot seem to find any pharmacy with any proximity for their second dose outside of Windsor, Kingston, or Toronto. And even go outside of York Region to get an AstraZeneca shot looks meek. And I don't see any kind of plan from the federal government to have any projected shipments of AstraZeneca at all. So what have you heard as far as York Region for those who want to have the AstraZeneca second dose within York Region? What is that outlook?
At this point in time, the outlook is that I'm in the same boat. I have AstraZeneca. We have to go to Toronto, Peel, Kingston. We have to look for it at this point. The remaining supply of AstraZeneca is the one that they've extended the expiration date to. That was set to expire, and then they expanded that expiration date. So that's what's still available. And I know that's dwindling. We're hoping that we hopefully get an announcement soon about any additional supply that's going to be coming in. And hopefully York Region is added to the list when the province decides to how they're going to divvy it up between the municipalities. And so we're hoping that York Region gets it. As soon as they are, I will let all of you know and let all the residents know once it's available, because I know I'm eager to get my shot. And I think most of us here have had AstraZeneca. So I think we're all eager to look at getting our AstraZeneca, but I will remind everyone that it is absolutely safe to go and get your Moderna or Pfizer as a second shot, and those are readily available all throughout York Region, including pharmacies here in the town of Aurora.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. I got a few for everyone. Splash pads. Splash pads are now open. Nothing beats the heat like a trip to the splash pad, and there are plenty of options around the town. And for more information, residents can visit aurora.ca/splashpads. Until July 1st, celebrate Aurora's scenic trails by participating in Cycle Aurora, with over 12 challenges that will get you out exploring our beautiful town by bike or testing your mettle on your indoor cycle. Experience a fun-filled way for the whole family to see Aurora, or get motivated with some virtual fitness challenges. And for more information, you can visit aurora.ca/Cycle Aurora. Summer camps are coming to Aurora. Our Summer Camps 2021 program guide is now available for viewing online. For full details, visit aurora/rec guide, and to register online, visit aurora.ca/eplay. From June 26th to July 3rd, the town of Aurora will be celebrating Canada and Aurora's history with both interactive virtual shows, community challenges, gaming tournaments, and more. Now, on July 1st, take part in Canada festivities along with virtual entertainment. And for more information on this, please visit aurora.ca/Canada Day. In June, Aurora's online Skylight Gallery is pleased to feature works by artist Robert, I can't say the name, I apologize, Hinvies, in his show, A Historical Look at Ontario Landscapes. During his travels around Ontario, Robert has found many fascinating locations that have significant historical value. The artist draws inspiration from these encounters and creates incredible detailed work, even capturing the eerie energy he must have felt when exploring. Robert works predominantly in pen, ink, and watercolor, generating a more vibrant look with each piece he creates. All works are for sale and they can be viewed at aurora.ca/skylight gallery. The town of Aurora has come up with a variety of exciting and interactive take-home kits to enjoy in the comfort and safety of your own home. From preschool to children and even adults, there's something for everyone. You can purchase online by registering through your ePlay account. Enjoy a safe curbside pickup and let the fun begin. For more information, please visit aurora.ca/take-home-kits. And with that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. Councillor Gardner, Councillor Thompson, all those in favor? Opposed? That carries. We're adjourned. Everyone, enjoy the rest of the week. Stay safe, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you. Bye-bye.